to come to stage and explain you a bit more about what is it like to organize a hackathon.
Is it fine if I speak like this without the mic? Mm-hmm. Anybody who doesn't hear me? Take the mic. Take the mic. Is it any better now? If I speak this way? Oh, cool. Yes. Alrighty. Okay, so who of you have been to Junction? Oh, a lot of people. Great. So what I'm going to be talking about is a perspective of the organizers of hackathons, and specifically of the student-organized hackathons like Junction, like Dash. And before I start going into it, I have 20 minutes, but really I could sum up the entire presentation with just 2 images. Now, please observe this first one. That is a duck. And the thing is, the ducks are quite nice animals, in my opinion. As you can see, it's flowing very well. It's quite gracious. It has everything under control. It's going where it should be going. It has its space. Everything is planned. The thing is that with ducks, on the top, it does look like it. But as soon as you switch to the bottom view, it's complete chaos. Like, what the hell is going on here? Like, they just go all the time, and there is some chaos all the time. That is essentially what hackathons are from the perspective of the organizers when it comes to the ones organized by students. And now we're going to go a bit deeper into that. So first of all, who has heard about Dash? Oh, guys, thank you. My marketing heart is now crying tears of happiness. Thank you. So Dash is a design hackathon organized here in Helsinki now for the 3rd time since 2017. It's a design hackathon, not because we just design things from the visual perspective, but because we utilize design thinking. It's a leading design hackathon in Europe. I'm not sure if there are many others, but we are the leading one. That's super cool. We have 220 attendees this year. There's actually around 40 nationalities. It was very diverse. But actually, majority of people didn't even come from abroad. So it was still people who actually resided here in Helsinki. And again, the story here is how to go from, people like this, sitting and enjoying, being super confused what's going on, to something as nice and pretty as Dash has been this year. I really love how it has been, especially in terms of visual style, in terms of the amount of people and how happy everybody was. So before going into the experience of an organizer, I just wanted to give some background about Dash as a hackathon. So because why do we even have hackathons at all? So that could be a question for Junction or for Dash as well. So in Dash, since 2017, it has been organized actually for the first time for the reason that in Aalto University, which you most likely have heard of or have seen, I see some t-shirts there. In Aalto University, the design people were a bit away from everybody else. They had their own school. They were in a campus away from the normal area as anybody else, and they didn't have events where they interacted with other people. So the business people had their own events. They did the business stuff. The tech people did their own things, and they organized their own hackathons or such. But design people were away. So in 2017, a bunch of design students thought, why not make a hackathon for design people where everybody could come together and enjoy? That was the idea from the start. And then slowly it kind of evolved into what we have today. And at the moment, 2019, the whole idea behind Dash is 2 things. Is to teach design thinking. And second is to show the world the power of design-minded people. And then the questions again, why hackathons? And specifically for this case, the hackathons were just the simplest solution because they are quite fast. They happen in just a few days. They are simple enough to be made, not too complicated, I'd say. They are quite representative. The results of a hackathon speak for themselves. Like we have seen the presentation from our Hungarian winners. Super cool way to hack hackathons. And you can see that the projects, they make sense. And when you say that, yeah, that has been done in a hackathon in a short time, that's quite impressive. Does it show the power of design people to the world? Yeah, it kind of does. It also involves many different stakeholders. So we have participants like you and me, or we have the partners for actual companies and businesses who need to show the design-minded power as well. And it's an experience of its own, where it's something that you feel, and you get to live the brand, you live the idea closer than it was something that you just attended to see or such. So that's why it's a hackathon. Now I'm going to give a bit more perspective. Okay, how does it go? How is it organized in Dash specifically? So it's a student-organized event. First off, it's part of Aalto Entrepreneurship Society, so it belongs to Aalto, and the people who organize it, there's kind of two kinds of people, a bit of discrimination going there. There's the core team and the volunteers. The core team are the people who organize the event throughout the entire year, and this year we have got the core team, the people who are like the managing directors, they actually were selected last December or November, and the rest of the team we got during March and April. And the volunteers are the ones who are present only on the actual event, and they do some simple things like catering, like participant information, like walking around, putting signs, and helping with the construction. So it's very different groups of people, but in the end, we all work together to do something exciting. In terms of the things that we are doing, this is essentially like the list of things that we have done. It's the responsibilities we've been holding. You can see there is my face there. That's me in the marketing, and that's why I'm very happy that I got to see so many hands of people knowing about it, because my responsibility was to actually get people to know about Dash and to participate in Dash. This year, it's been okay. Could have been done better, but essentially, this is all the responsibilities. There's partners who work to get companies to work. And for those who don't know, if you think, for example, from Junction perspective or Dash, the partner is a company that presents their challenge during the hackathon. And for them, it's a good brand awareness. It is a possibility to get actual solutions for their challenges, or just to be there, just to be heard, just chill out. It's really very different for all the partners, but the partners pay money to participate in the hackathon from their perspective. And then you as participants get it for free and enjoy those benefits. So that's kind of the exchange. Whenever something is for free, actually somebody pays for it, but it's not you. So in this case, hackathon is for free. You don't pay for it, but the partners do. So that's the idea behind it. And between marketing and partners, there's also some partner marketing because we need to promote them. You might have seen those appreciation posts or shameless posts like, hey, thank you for this partner for being there for us. We have to do it as part of the contract. Then they have sponsors to get free drinks, free snacks, free all this amazing like beers or venue to get it out. There's a program, there's the participants, which are self-explanatory. For Dash, venue is one of the key things that we have, because as a design hackathon, we also decided to focus on making it as an experience very visually pleasing, very lovely and beautiful. I'll again just come back to this one slide with this. Look at this beauty. I cannot have enough of it. Actually, that's me also there. That's why I have this picture too. But the venue was amazing. And coming back to the point that from the Hungarian hackathon people, finding your own best room, we didn't have that opportunity at Dash. We're like, no, that's not happening. So each team had their own little cottage at Finnish Nökki, like a summer cottage. So everybody had the same conditions for the sake of actually equality in that sense. And also, we did not allow any pre-made teams. All the teams have been assembled by us, hand-picked. People applied one by one, and we picked people based on their age, gender, nationality, the field of study, work experience, and we matched them together to have the most equal and diverse teams among all of the participants of the entire hackathon. Out of the 120 people, all of them have been matched like that. And the other difference in Dash Design Hackathon compared to others is that we have a preparation event where 1 week before the actual hackathon, we come together and we teach people the main concepts they need to know. And for the next week, they have a chance to work with the partners to research the problem deeper. They actually, for example, have customer interviews. They go to the company premises. They learn about this problem more. And for example, for this year's partner called Helsinki Casting, they even brought actual actors, directors, and even more staff during the hackathon for participants to interview, to provide them more background about the challenge and to learn more. So in our case, the hackathon's purpose is less about a team winning, but more about everybody learning, having a collectively great experience, and partners getting the best possible ideas that could have been done. So it's a bit of a different concept compared, for example, from Junction, where in the end, you can hack it, you can get yourself out there, you can win, where the conditions for that are created. But our hackathon is made in a way that it's not for a single team to win, but it's for everybody to learn together. So it's quite different in that sense already too. And of course, we have volunteers helping to make it run smoothly because, for example, the core team, although it was around 40 people at the start, in reality, with any volunteer project, they actually have 10, 15 people working. The rest are like, kind of there. If you remember the ducks, they're flapping around, but they actually aren't moving anywhere. And that's kind of the timeline here. I just tried to remember what have we been doing during the entire year. So okay, we have the hackathon. There's like those 2 days where everything is happening, but before that, there has to be something going on. And I was recruited back in March, and that's when we had the teams forming. We had a bunch of people coming together, and we were planning things. And the thing is, it all went a bit wrong. And I'm going to come back to it a bit later, and that's something very, very common among hackathons. And just to demonstrate how a bit, sometimes amateurish or fun this gets, on Saturday I was at Junction as well, but I was just attending this kind of partner event there. And Mr. Iro, who is the CEO of Junction this year, has been speaking. And in 2016, when they launched the first Junction, on Saturday evening, just before the last day of pitching and judging, they sat down and they were like, wait, we forgot to plan the judging. There was no plan whatsoever how the judging process was going to be. So on the last evening before the actual judging, they started calling different different experts who would be the panels of the judges to say, hey, can you please come tomorrow to judge these projects at Junction? Because they themselves have no idea. And that's just like a prime example of how things start to go wrong when it comes to hackathons organized by students. And again, that might not be the case, for example, for Digital Hack, which is organized by EIT Digital, or some others. Perhaps it can be. I think they say that any event being organized is a chaos on its own. Remember the ducks? That's approximately how it looks like. But for us, essentially, the time from March until September or August has been very idle. It wasn't as active as it should have been. The only team that was working was the sales. And the thing is that sales should have been done by May. In June, they were still selling. In August, they were still selling. In September, we secured the last deals. That's apparently very common. Junction had the same issue this time, that they finished the last partnerships early October. And if you have been following the website, you might have seen that there was not too many partners as last year. And that's partly because the sales have been, they just didn't know what happened. The same happened with us. We're like, the concept is very easy to sell. It's very attractive for the partners. Sounds pretty cool. Why is it not selling? We don't know. We tried, and then it kind of didn't work. In the end, we got the partners we wanted. The hackathon worked out, but it was such a crazy hectic environment up until September when we got the final sales done. And that's something also very common where things go out of the timeline, out of the control, and everybody starts panicking. So in August and September, when we actually realized that, gosh, we don't have enough partners, the registrations opened on the 3rd of September, and we needed to promote the hackathon, but we didn't have all the partners to promote because the challenges make up one of the most attractive selling points for people. And so we didn't have them. And we were like, okay, well, let's postpone the challenge, the registration opening. We postponed it for 1 week. We are left with 3 weeks of registration. And that means extra burden for me as a marketing person to get all the people. 220 people are not as easy to get. Then you consider the people that drop out. You need to get like 300 people. And then you consider people that, just register for nothing. We had registration that, yeah, this is my name, this is my surname. Do you want to disclose your information? No. Does not fill anything else. Why did you register at all? But it's like anything can happen with those. And for me to get it in 3 weeks was a big challenge. And partly that kind of came together because here at the start, we weren't as organized as we should have been. That's also another thing. And then the only thing I think the venue was doing very good. They had a good plan. And because everything at Dash has been hand-built, we don't have any external professional help. So I think we purchased a few tons of wood. They cut a few tons of wood. We transported a few tons of wood by ourselves. We built, using those tons of wood, those cottages, and then we put everything together by ourselves. The only professional services we used were for lighting, and I think sound. So the actual building process was done by normal humans, just like me and you, and we took from Wednesday and Thursday before the hackathon days to actually put it all together. That was pretty cool. As an experience for a person organizing the hackathon, there is the good side and the side. The good side of it is obviously the people. Honestly, it's been an amazing journey with people because when you're working on such a project, you always get bonded over and you get to see different sides of people. When somebody's completely stressed out to the point that if you ask them, how are you doing? I'm dying. You get to know them from a different perspective than before. The venue and production quality has been amazing. I'm impressed myself on the work that we managed to do because when we arrived there on Wednesday, it was empty. And then on Thursday evening, it was ready to go. And on Friday morning, we had people coming over and we were like, what happened here? Who did that all? It was us. So it felt very nice. And again, it was a big learning environment for everybody at the hackathon, but also as everybody in the team. For us, it was a learning journey from the start. I'm going to come back to it when I have some notes from the managing director of the hackathon, Miss Emilia. I'm going to talk about her experience too. It's a very interesting time where you can have the freedom to fail and experiment. And that's the interesting part of it. You have a lot of stakeholders. You have partners that bring money into your project. You have participants who decided to commit your time and effort into the hackathon. But at the same time, the organizing side, us, we are also students and young people who decided to commit our time to creating this project. And we are very likely to fail. And we are very likely to learn out of it as well. And in this environment, we still managed to come through somehow. Junction and all the other student-organized hackathons are also very similar. And again, remember the ducks. As much as it looks everything planned and everything how it's supposed to be, on the backside, there are people like me who are panicking and saying that they're dying every second day. But in the end, it kind of works out somehow. Participants loved it. Partners loved it. We loved it. So that was enjoyable. The A side of it was the people, because also when you get a lot of stressed out people together in one place, you ought to have a lot of drama. Like, gosh, people cannot live without drama. If you have ever participated in an intense project, you know what I'm talking about. Not gonna dig it out now. It was very fun. The strategic management sucks. In any kind of this project, they try to make it strategic. They try to make it planned. They try to make a mission statement, the values, and the plan for the entire year, the timeline. And then after the second month of implementation, they realize they're completely screwed over already. Very normal, because strategy is not something easy to just put together then implement. That's the hard part. The resource planning, also quite tricky. I remember at the start of the year, I was asked to make a marketing plan. I was like, okay, I have 4 case scenarios. In terms of budget, I'm gonna have 10K euros. That's a very good scenario. 7K euros, okay. 5K euros, a bit tight, and 3K if it's like super bad, but we'll manage. I was told in May I'm gonna have 10K. In August, I was told, yeah, I have 10K. In September, you have 3K. The planning, down momentarily. So in terms of resources, it's also very hard. So when you are allocating things, suddenly that a few tons of wood cost a bit more than your ads on Facebook. Surprise, surprise. A division of responsibility is complicated as well. Communication, who communicates well? If you think that you do, most likely you don't. So nobody does. In the end, it's a mess as well. And logistical issues always arise because we forget about the resources or the responsibility or the time. That's just obvious. To sum up, so this is an experience. I asked the managing director of Dash, Miss Emilia, what has been the experience for her, and she summed up with a few nice statements. It's a unique chance to be in charge of something huge already at the first year of your bachelor's. So many of us have been, for example, first-year bachelor students or maybe third-year bachelor students. I don't think there's been a single master's student creating Dash. And when it comes to, for example, hackathon like Junction as well, majority of students were bachelors creating this whole experience. So when you think about it, when you're that young and you're creating something that big, it's quite impressive. It's a very good learning experience, partly because that's huge responsibilities on your shoulders and you have to do something with it. You learn a lot. Even if you fail in the process or it looks like a mess on the backside, in the front, it still looks great. Leading the people, always hard. And then that little point, no limits except money to do decisions, is crazy. If you imagine yourself being 20, 21, 22, and then you're like supposed to make decisions for a project with a few €100,000 budget, which includes companies and participants, 200 people, quite crazy, and also very good to learn. And yeah, it was one thing, again, as we focused on diversity in the participants, we also was very focused on diversity among the people who were organizing it. And we had people from design backgrounds, from technical backgrounds, from business backgrounds, and that was something very empowering. And I also like to see in the EIT side, there's many people from different backgrounds coming together to do something amazing, and that turns out great. We have by now learned that diversity is quite a good thing. And to sum up the things, not so good things, of course, it's very stressful, especially when you try to combine the volunteer side of it with your work that you need to do for money and your studies. Those three don't mix together as well, because there's also social life. You forget about that. You don't need social life when you're organizing a project like this. Your project is your social life. That's how it's been for many of us here. It's very hard to arrange all the time. You study in the morning, but you need to contact the partners in the morning. You are going to have your meetings in the evening, but you need to do your homework in the evening, and perhaps you're doing a side project to get money in the evening as well. And then you need to party. No. There is no working hours. So sometimes you end up thinking about your project all the time. You cannot stop. So it's like, oh, what about that thing? Oh, what about that Facebook ad? What about this and this and this? So it gets on your nerve very fast. And again, when you haven't led people before, leading people is hard. If you have at some time had this experience, have you led people before? And not so many, right? If you were, how was it? Pretty good, yeah? Yeah, I know. Exactly. And again, being in charge of big things with little experience, obviously a good contradiction, but leads to very cool results. Kind of sum up, 9 out of 10, would do it again. I loved it personally. If you ever have a chance to participate in something similar, or you want to come back to your home and decide like, hey, okay, next week I'm organizing a hackathon, go for it. I think before the presentation by Johanna, he mentioned, group up with your friends, have some ideas together, and then just make a plan. That's how it is. First time when Dash was organized, it was simply just to bring design people out of their design cave to meet other humans who are in business or tech. Voila. A few years later, we have an event of this scale. When Junction was first organized, it was more about, like, let's make a hackathon, like, let's make something. A few years later, voila, you have one of the largest hackathons around Europe, and perhaps around the world, that looks so great. And remember, it still is a duck. Behind it, there is you as a duck flopping around, trying to figure it out. And through that flopping around, you learn, so that next time, you're still going to be flopping, but maybe less intensely. That's about it. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
Questions? And just in case you were wondering who won Dash this year, that's a guy. Peter. Say hello.
Oh,
we have a Dash here as well.
Which challenge was it? Which challenge was it?
The city of Kuopio.
Oh, nice one.
He will. So if you stay here until the end of the talks in the evening, and we will continue with the open stage. So he has also scheduled a presentation. And also, Valera, thank you very much. As I was saying, we like to give nice rewards to our speakers. And I hope you like the opera, because for you we have an opera voucher, so you can attend.
Yeah.
Wow!
I was about to thank you. I need to get a bit more culture.
Yeah, so this is the perfect opportunity for you to get a bit more of culture.
Nice.
So here you go. Thanks again. Here. If you don't want so much culture, but in culture, then you can also drink some wine.
I think wine and culture.